All right, we continue because it's Saturday morning. We will continue with our first speaker, Mr. Marco Albelice. Okay, Mr. Marco Albelice graduated from the Milan Higher Technical Building Institute and has accumulated over 25 years of experience with MAPE, providing technical expertise across multiple product lines, including system for ceramic, natural stone installation, resilient and wood flooring heritage restoration materials, thermal insulation system, and waterproofing solutions. Throughout his career, he has been actively involved in delivering technical training programs, hands-on workshop, and on-site technical supports to construction professionals across Europe and part of the MAPE technical team. Mr. Marco is also a frequent speaker at the national and international seminars and conferences, particularly in the ceramic and stone tiling sector, where he shares expertise on installation technology, substrate preparation, and defect analysis. So he's the right person that we're going to listen today. From 2021 to 2025, he expanded his role by supporting MAPE companies across the Asia-Pacific region, contributing especially on technical knowledge. In 2026, he is assumed as a new role as a specification and business director for MAPE China, further strengthening the company technical and commercial presence in the region. Mr. Marco is also a member of Italian standardization body, UNI, Italian National Unification Body, participating in the working groups responsible for the publication of UNI 11714, Stone Wall and Ceiling Coverings, Part 1, Instructions for Design, Installation, and Maintenance. In addition, he served as a technical consultant in legal proceedings, include ATP and CTU cases related to dispute in the ceramic and stone tiling sector. So if you have any questions, this is the best time to ask the experts. All right, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Marco to the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. So thank you for coming. Thank you for the organization of this event, and thank you to my local colleagues that invited me to join here. It's a nice long presentation you do about me, so next time we can do just a shorter, maybe it's easier for everyone. Yeah. So in this hour, I have 1 hour time. I will just focus on 3 points. Point number 1, some tips on fixing large format tiles, how to manage, what kind of adhesive we can use, and stuff like this. The second part, point number 2, will be focus on try to avoid a typical problem we may have when fixing tile, indoor, outdoor, which is staining, efflorescences on the tile, on the grouting. And point number 3, the last one, last but not least, will be, as you can see, the preparation of the substrate. It's a kind of pretty technical, but not so technical presentation. In any case, should you have any question, please, I think after I finish, I'm here, or you can put, of course, your question. So let's start with the installation of large format tiles. Question number 1, what is a large format tile? We see this kind of topics, how to handle it properly, and which kind of adhesive to use, and the preparation of a substrate. What is a large format tile? When I can say the tile is large, according to the international standard. I remember when I just joined MAPE many years ago, and we need to fix a tile 40 centimeter for 40 centimeter, they say it's big. 40-40 was big 25 years ago. But now the standard have changed a lot. The technology can do something more. You see, for example, in the United States, in Europe, in Italy, their local norm give you advice to designer and, of course, to applicator on what is a large format tile. As you can see, United States, they say more than 50 centimeter. In Italy, in Europe, basically we say higher than 60 centimeter. So this is the first step we do to analyze the situation. And of course, if you say over 60 centimeter can be 2 meters, 3 meters, even more like dimension of the tile, because the tile producer can do large tile in a thin, very thin thickness. This is a key point about fixing tile and properly handle them. The first thing I say is that a very not technical, a practical thing. People choose the large format tile and think on how to fix them, but sometimes they don't really consider the logical, the practical application of this kind of material. When you receive a large format tile, you receive in a pallet like this, so the maneuver, the movement, the handling of a large format tile require some specific environmental. In my private little house, it will be difficult to obtain something like this. Seems a very underestimated thing, but is true. And in fact, all the tile producer, Laminam, Panaria, Atlas Concord, all these companies, apart the adhesive, the system that you have to use to fix tile, they put some recommendation on how to handle them. How to handle. Do you know how much does it cost one tile, 3 meter for 1 meter and 60? A lot. So since they are very thin, the movement of this kind of material is the first key point. We need to use special tools, sucking pumps and bars and metal elements to move them without breaking. I see on YouTube, TikTok, sometimes some video application of this kind of material, and honestly, it's not a reflection on the people doing the job, but the risk of breaking this tile, especially when they are 3, 5, 6 millimeter in such long dimension, is very critical. So these are the right tools that we can use maneuvering the large format tile. And also when we have to cut them, we need to have special support, special table and tools to provide a clean and without defect cutting or edging of the material, even providing some special holes and elements into the tile itself. I just say this thing, why? Because we experience many times in Italy that even before choosing the fixing system, even before the adhesive or the substrate, the tile is already broken. And in this case, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing, no epoxy resin, no elements can repair a defect given by the wrong handling of the material. So I just spent some time on this to aware you about this. MAPEI, when we do some training with our customer or even in collaboration with the tile producer, we adopt this kind of system to show the applicator exactly what should be the right maneuvering of this kind of material. But let's go into the point. Okay, so what kind of adhesive, what kind of fixing system I need to use for this kind of tiles? So the choice on what kind of system fixing I have to use, depending on different factors, type of substrate, final destination, weather condition, type of tiles, of course, that we are using, and most of all, the deformation and the backside of the tile. Let me spend a few words on this. The type of substrate is quite clear. Do you think fixing tile onto plasterboard or onto screed is the same? Do you think fixing tile onto waterproofing system or onto concrete is the same? It's not. It's very different. These kind of substrate are different one each other. Do you think I can fix tile onto a metal surface? Okay, so the choice of the adhesive depending on the type of substrate as depending on the final destination, airport, shopping mall, hospital, private house, weather condition. For example, the temperature, the humidity, these are kind of obvious things, but should not be underestimated, and type of tiles. In this case, we have a large tile. But more important for us, much more important for us, like producer, is the deformation and the back of the tiles. Why? Because the deformation of the tile, especially the grass tile, porcelain tile, let me say, is one of the most affecting problems when we are choosing the adhesive to do the job in the job site. Because if I consider the coefficient of deformation of grass tile, I will see that its proper deformation is very, very thin. So if I ask myself, this grass tile, is deformable or not deformable? The answer should be basically not deformable. Because the coefficient of deformation, porcelain tile, you see there, compared to other, is very, very little, very thin. Of course, this is a very superficial consideration, because I need to consider that if I want to know if the tiles move, not only the coefficient of deformation, I need the size of the tile. You see? The size of the tile. Because the final deformation, delta L, is given by, of course, the temperature delta, the coefficient of deformation, but also the size of the tile. In this case, even if the product itself is not very deformable, but when I use a 240 centimeter length tile, I have a deformation around 1 millimeter for this material. 1 millimeter is a big deformation or not big deformation? I would say that 1 millimeter is not a big deformation, but you already know what happened when I fix 10 tiles. So I will not fix one tile. I will fix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if each of them has a kind of deformation, roughly 1 millimeter, maybe less, maybe more, the 10th tile will be pushed away from the surface because they push each other. And this is why we do the joint, and this is why we do the expansion joints, to let this material, even not deformable, to move and to push each other without breaking. But it's a concern me and you, like designer, like technical people, have to consider. Maybe the owner don't consider this, but you and I, when we give advice, when we do specification, we need to consider this kind of elements. So the deformation is a very important part we have to consider, especially, of course, when the application is more difficult. In a facade, we have an excursion of temperature between day and night, winter, and you have winter here? No. But you have the night, of course. So, okay, between day and night, there are, I don't know, will be a excuse of 10, 15 degrees, I don't know, whatever it is. But this is just for you to know that the worse is the application, the more difficult will be the consideration we have to do. So in this case, the deformation is very important. The second point that we need to consider to choose the proper fixing system is that the tiles have changed a lot in the last 40 years. I would say 50 years. So many, many years ago, still today, but especially many, many years ago, the back of the tile was very absorbent, a single file, double file, very absorbent material on the back. Maybe very thick, but also absorbent. What does it mean? It means that the cement, or anyway, the fixing system that I adopt will penetrate in the back of the tile quite easily. So it's not require such a strong power of adhesion for this kind of material because the porosity of the back is open enough to allow the cement to get in. But today, not anymore. Today we have the grass tile. You see the microscope elements, pictures, how the voids under the tile have changed a lot. So in this case, the back of the tile, of the modern tile, is not absorbent. My question is, can I fix easily a material which is not absorbent? Not that easy. So in this case, I need to consider what kind of adhesive or what kind of performances are required to the adhesive to be able to fix them. And consider that we are not talking about the top of the tile. So the final customer checks the top of the tile, the color, the shape, and everything. Me, I never consider the top of the tile. I don't care about the top of the, I consider the back, the dimension and the back. So the traditional way of fixing tile, you remember this one, maybe it's still adopted somewhere, okay, doesn't suit anymore with the modern tile. Because this kind of system, which was used for many years, has some very important limit when we fix tile. For example, you need a lot of water because this is a semi-wet system. You spread cement on the surface. The power of adhesion of the layers, slurry bone coat you made with cement is 3-4 times less than the cement, than the adhesive, pre-mixed adhesive. So this is a system, I'm not judging this. I'm just saying that this system for the modern tile, unfortunately, is not safe. I can use this for thicker tile. I have marble, for example, and I can fix 2, 3, 4 centimeters. The weight of the marble will keep there. In any case, we need to switch to adhesive. And when we switch to the adhesive, you know, the premix adhesive, the question that we put ourselves is, okay, the tile is big, the back is not absorbent. What kind of material can I use to fix the tile? to answer this question, you have two ways. Ways number one, you call our colleagues and you ask him, sorry, I have this tile, what kind of a, and in 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, he will give you 2, 3 solutions and finish. In this case, you have the proper answer, but you don't learn nothing. You just do that as they do. I'm not, thank you very much. No, because I'm not very nice in the picture. If you can just modify a little bit the shave, because I have a problem here and I cannot shave these days. And also everything, please, and younger if possible. You see my picture, when the picture I saw 10 years ago. Okay, go back. So if you want to provide some adhesive to your fixing system, you ask what color we give you. But there is a better way to find the solution. It's the international standard. The ISO is the international association collecting, let me say, all the relevant standards considering the performances of the adhesive. Of course, in Europe, we have the European norm. In Asia, you have other local norms. But anyway, more or less, this kind of norm brings the same concept. And I give you just a very quick explanation. Don't want to bore you on this. But anyway, it's very important. For example, the international standard says that there are 3 types of adhesive on the market, on this planet. Okay, 3 adhesive, no matter Mapei, no matter other company, 3 types of adhesive: cement, dispersion, and reactive. Cement, CD, dispersion are reactive. Of course, the most common is the cement. The dispersion adhesive is just a ready-to-use product. You don't have to mix anything. You open, you apply, you close, and go back to it, and go to another job site. But it's a very specific product that requires very absorbent substrate. So the market for this kind of material is a niche, in my opinion. The reactive adhesive is the strongest adhesive you can find on the market because it's not cement, it's made of resin. Epoxy resin, polyurethane resin. Epoxy polyurethane resin can fix anything onto anything. For example, you need to fix tile onto metal. I cannot use cement because cement don't fix on metal. I need to fix tile onto plastic, PVC. I cannot use cement because cement don't fix on plastic. Only reactive adhesive can do that. Just a very common example. You have you have a stair made of metal stair. You want cover with whatever, marble, tiles, wood. Okay, you cannot use cement. You need to use the reactive. You have elevator. Into the elevator, you have the basement made of metal. Sometimes it happens often. You can find, how do they fix the tile there? Not with cement, because cement is not fixing. So the reactive adhesive costs 3, 4, 5, 6 times more than cement, but can fix anything onto anything. So the most common instead is the cement C adhesive, and is divided in class 1 and class 2. Did you know that? Not all the cement are the same. Adhesive class 1, C1, adhesive class 2, C2. The C2 adhesive means that the pull-off resistance, so the force, the pull-off, the strength I need to detach the tile is 10 kilograms for every square centimeter. So if I fix a tile here with C2 adhesive, for every square centimeter, if I want to detach the tile, I need to reach 10 kilograms per square centimeter. So you may already understand that often when there is a problem on the floor, on the wall, is not up to the adhesive. Maybe it's up to the application, but the performance of the adhesive is studied to guarantee the proper fixing. So the C2 adhesive is 10 kilograms. Is 1 Newton per square millimeter, so 10 kilograms for square centimeter. The class 1 is half of that, so 0.5 Newton or MPa, whatever it is. And then there are some other characteristics that define the adhesive. So the international standards say, you want to sell the adhesive? Okay, you need to tell me. We need to check what is made of, chemical nature, and adhesion. So cement, dispersion, or resin, and adhesion. Then maybe your product has other characteristics that today in the modern market can be useful to have. For example, fast, not your case, but can be fast, can be T-tixotropic, can be open time, extending open time. Do you know what is letter E in the international classification? The letter E means extending open time. It means that normally when you apply the adhesive on the floor, on the wall, then at a certain moment, the adhesive forms a skin. The question is, how long does it take before forming the skin? With the E adhesive extending open time, you have minimum 20-30 minutes. It's very interesting because in a condition, high temperature or high humidity, the extending open time helps the applicator to maintain fresh the adhesive. Imagine this place here, outdoor. And then they have to fix tile. And then they start to apply the adhesive here, maybe not in a small way, but they cover half of that. The time, they fix tile here, and register, and then here, and then place the space over there, the adhesive is done, already done, because the humidity, because of the weather, okay? The extending open time helps you to keep fresh the adhesive, not forever, but for 20-30 minutes after the application. And we have also the deformation, class S1, S2, which becomes very interesting for the large format tiles. These are just some tests. This is the open time, sorry. These are just some tests we do internally. But I want to focus on the deformation of the adhesive. You remember we said that the tiles, especially the big tiles, can have a certain movement. So when I fix this kind of material, maybe the deformation of the adhesive, of a cement-based adhesive, can be an interesting characteristic. Some adhesives are not deformable, as you see in the top. Some other are deformable, and the international standard divide them in class S1, S2. Class S1 between 2.55 millimeter deformation, class S2 over 5 millimeter. Don't worry, you don't have to remember all this thing. You are here just to listen that they exist. There is a norm and it's doing something. Then we will help you to remind everything. So the class S1, S2 become very important, the deformation, when we have to fix tile, for example, onto deformable substrate. You fix tile into the swimming pool. The question I put myself is, but the swimming pool, is a stable element or is it deformable element? I have to fix tile on a skyscraper. The question is, but this structure is deformable or not deformable? I need to fix tile on plasterboard. I need to fix tile on tile. I need to fix tile onto waterproofing system. I have to put myself this question. Who is going to put himself this question? Not the owner, but me, you, the technical guys, I think. No? So every time I think there is a deformation, maybe I can stop and say, I can use not MAPEI product, but according to the international standard, an S1 or S2 adhesive to provide to the system more deformability, to reduce the modulus of elasticity of the complex of the stratigraphy. This is a way to be a little bit safer during the application. So just to reconnect the international standard with the reality, the job site. The C1 adhesive, C1, you see, basic adhesive, are used in interior application for very absorbent backside and for small tiles. We are in my house, my bathroom, small tile, absorbent, okay. I don't want to say any adhesive is okay, but C1 adhesive for sure is okay. I just buy instead a grass tile, not absorbent, and I'm talking about the back, not absorbent, then I pass to C2 adhesive. Because C2 means, remember, number 2 means improved adhesion, and I need improved adhesion to fix onto not absorbent material. And in case the size of the tile become even larger, then I skip to the S1 or S2 adhesive. Every country has more or less its regulation. We give this kind of indication. So higher than 120, we go with S2 adhesive, maximum deformability for the adhesive. Higher than 60, we go with deformable adhesive. So in your, when you provide advice to our customer, we can say, no matter what brand you will use, but in this job site, I need you to respect the standard for the adhesive for this kind of application. Otherwise, we may have some problem on the final application. And, okay, of course, just to finish this part, we need to consider the way we apply the adhesive. So it's not enough to to adopt the right system, we also need to fix them in a proper way, because the application of the adhesive can really affect the final result. In Italy, for example, we have some local norms. They say when you apply the tile with one size larger or equal to 60 centimeter, you need to take the tile, apply the adhesive on the back, apply the adhesive on the bottom or on the floor, on the wall, and fix them together, just to try to cover they say 95% of the back of the tiles. It's not a law given by the government, it's not a mandatory norm, it's an advice contained into the Italian local standard that we did, not MAPEI, that the local Italian association with tile producer and adhesive producer, we did together as our best recommendation. Because if the tile is big, I don't want to have hollow, but I want a different sound. Okay, I don't want to have hollows, voids under the tile, so I need to apply the double buttering system of the adhesive on the back and on the substrate. So we can sell more adhesive, basically. No, it's not that. Because the customers say this. They say, "Why you want to sell more adhesive?" No, well, you know what? Please, do whatever you want. Do whatever. You don't want to adopt the system. Don't adopt it. Okay, it's okay for me. Remember that if you have voids under the tile and water go into the voids and will go, because the water pass into the joint anyway, no matter what you do, will pass into the joint, will go under the tile, and the water under the tile is a problem, because the water, time by time, will affect the adhesive and the adhesion. And not here, but in other countries, when the water become ice, will break the fixing of the seal. So it's not to sell more adhesive. It's also in the national standard. It's just the best advice we can do, give for free, basically. And this is the double application of the adhesive. You see on the back of the tile and then also on the substrate. There are some few tips we give to the applicator. Honestly, this is something we discover with her help, with them, their help, the help of the applicators. For example, sometimes you see that way to apply the adhesive, no? Because it's very artistic. You can put on the brochure, you can put on the video, nice. Sometimes I also try to do that. It's very, bring you some happiness. But in this case, you see here, the ribs, the lines of the adhesive on the back of the tile and on the floor, you see them, are in the same direction. Same direction, and according the shorter size of the tile. Because when you lay down them, if the lines of the adhesive cross each other like this, the air will be trapped under the tile. In this way, instead, the percentage of water, air that will be trapped under the tile is very minimum. And when I press them, because I need to press the tile once I finish, then the air will go out in the shorter direction possible. Okay, these are just some advice that we provide, but we learn this also from the applicator. So the application of the adhesive is also important, as it is the right choice of the adhesive. To obtain this, no voids, full adhesion, which means all the adhesive is working. Sometimes people do, you ever seen the patching, fixing? Yeah, very, very dangerous. On the floor is impossible for me, because if you patch on the floor and something drop on the floor, will break the tile. For me, also apart the fact that when you walk on the floor, you hear that, but also on the wall is very dangerous. But the point is that if you patch it and you have many voids under the tile, you have many problems with the voids, and you propose an adhesive in class C2 with 10 kilograms for square centimeter of adhesion, and you fix only 30% of the tile. So what do you think will happen? It can be a detaching at that point, because the adhesive is not working, basically. Okay, let's bring to the second point, which is quite linked to this one. Time is really running, so I go too fast. I'm going too far. Can I slow? I can slow down, but we need 2 hours. Second point that I promise you is a typical defect that we see on the job site, which is the efflorescence. Efflorescence coming out. The efflorescence coming out from the tiling, not depending on the type of covering. Can be marble, can be grass, can be bricks, can be whatever. Sometimes the white spotting coming out through the joints, to the cracks until the surface. And this is not just an aesthetical defect. Already aesthetically is not nice to see. It's not nice. But this kind of white deposit have a pH very high, So they can really affect also the surface of the tile you have chosen with a chemical reaction with the surface. By the time consuming the surface. And this is a problem. You cannot solve just washing. I wash the surface and goodbye. Okay. So the first question we analyze in our study is, but this white spot is made of what? Generally speaking, this white spot is made of what? Is made of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is a compound, white compound, crusty, a little powdery also, with a pH very high, that appears in the exit part of the flooring of the wall, so the joints, the cracking, the corner, the drainage, where there is water, appears in this kind of situation, and cannot easily be cleaned by water, as I told you before. But the second question is, if this is calcium carbonate, where is coming from? Where is coming from? I don't understand. You will be surprised maybe to understand that the calcium carbonate comes from the calcium hydroxide. And the calcium hydroxide is naturally present in the substrate. Cement, during the hydration time, produce a certain level of calcium hydroxide. The cement they produce in the factory during the production produce a certain level of calcium hydroxide. So we have a problem with cement? No, we don't have a problem with cement. This is normal, very normal. The problem is the dampness, is the water. Because if you add or if you have much more water than what is required by the cement compound, the water in excess will bring, evaporating, will bring the calcium hydroxide on the surface of the flooring of the wall. And when arrive on the floor, on the surface, the water will evaporate and will meet CO2. Will meet the air here. You see? Once the calcium hydroxide meets the air, they become calcium carbonate. Not soluble with water, not easy to remove, special cleaner to remove, and we have the white spotting on the surface. So the problem is not the cement, the substrate, water. The problem is I haven't considered the water. I put too much water, or I didn't block the rising damp from the ground. In all these cases, you are allowed to expect to have white spot on the surface in industrial or residential application too. So what we can do, if the white spots come from the binder, come from the water, come from the air, of course we cannot do anything with the air. We can try to work on the binder. The binder is the cement. Okay, so we can try to modify. MAPEI is trying to do that, to modify the binders, applying some aluminum product or ethylene product, fast setting product, but they are not so easily accepted on the market for price reason and for application reason. I understand this. So basically we can work on the water. No leakage, no rising damp, no residual moisture, no crack on the surface where water can get in. This is the best project way we can do to avoid the formation of efflorescences. So step number one, let's stop the water to get into the structure. This is a simple application in a terrazzo, in a balcony. I want to stop the water. How can I stop it? Somebody thinks, well, I can stop here in the joint. Maybe I can apply a waterproofing material in the joint. Maybe I can use an epoxy system. Epoxy is watertight. So in this way, water will not penetrate. Unfortunately, this is not working because we analyze many times in our lab the conjunction, the touch point between the grout and the tile, And any grout, even the epoxy grout, in the edge between the tile and the grout, there can be some little voids. So you cannot guarantee that the water is not passing through. So let's get out of the way this point. On the floor, the water, outdoor I mean, will always enter in the joint, no matter what you do. You can reduce, but the water will enter in the joint. And this is not a problem, it's normal. Because there are other ways to stop this kind of penetration, but not the joint, okay? So, what normally is do the stratigraphy to stop the water? Normally the waterproofing system is based on the structure. This is concrete, and then we have the stratigraphy of the floor, the cement leveling, and then the tiling. This is the traditional way. You see the waterproofing system is placed right on the structure. So it means that the concrete is protected, but when it is raining, when it's raining and the water is getting into the joint, it will pass through the screed to the cement layer and will be stopped in the level of the waterproofing. So the cement over there will be wet, correct? Because the water can pass through. And when the temperature grows, the water will go out, evaporate, and we go back to the problem we see before. So we may have efflorescences on the surface of the tile. The best way we may recommend to you in a project to avoid this problem is to place the waterproofing system just under the tile. Not only on the structure, just under the tile. The waterproofing system like the last layer before fixing tile. In this case, when it is raining or when you wet the surface, the water will penetrate into the joints, but will immediately be stopped by the waterproofing system. And in this case, all the stratigraphy below will be completely dry, with no rising damp, with no water, excess of water inside, and so with no efflorescences. If we complete the system, the scheme, we see, I put some name inside. We have the waterproofing system in that point, and we have some other important elements. We have the slope. We need to do the slope, of course. We need to add to close the joint between different material like tiles and marble with the formable. Here, you see here. So we have the slope. No, we have the waterproofing. We have the slope, and we have here, because this is marble and this is tile. Marble moves differently by the tile. So here I need to place a waterproofing elements, like a silicone, for example, a simple silicone, but the formable one, because this one is moving and this one is moving, and I need to connect the different movement of the material. And the waterproofing here, and the slope. In this system, very basic conception, but in this way we can evacuate the excess of water and we can avoid penetration of water into the substrate. The product we use is, there are different types of product to do this job. We have some cement-based material, like this one you see in the video. This is a two-component cement elastic material that can be applied on the surface of screed, concrete, whatever it is. And it is very deformable, so it can follow the movement of the substrate, and eventually, in case of crack in the substrate, the material can really follow without cracking the movement of the substrate. Is a membrane, basically it's a membrane, two component, cement-based with special cement, so also not producing any kind of efflorescences. Is reinforced. Of course, we need to reinforce all the key points of the waterproofing system. Can be the joints, can be the corner. This is very important because the joints and the corner are eventually the place where the structure is moving the most. And so there we can have some cracks. We need to reinforce all this point, or the threshold with a marble effect. Consider that also for the waterproofing system, I show you this like an example, but the world of waterproofing system is huge. So we can find many kind of waterproofing system, but not all of them can reach the standard required for this kind of material. For example, if you see on the technical data sheet of our product or on the technical documentation we provide for free on our website to our customer, you have the guarantee about the performances of this material. In this case, this material that I showed you before, waterproofing cement-based element, is classified according the European, this is a European standard, but this is recognized by international point of view, and it's confirming its performance in terms of elasticity. For example, we have, you see, the different element composing the classification. We have minus 20 degree, like performing in terms of application and elasticity. It's not your case, maybe. I know here you don't bring this kind of, reach this kind of temperature, but it's a guarantee for the customer that in any environmental condition, the product can satisfy the requirement given by the international standard or the European standard. And can be also resistant to contact with chlorinated water, eventually close to the sea or close to the lake or close to eventually water contaminated by chlorinated elements. So this kind of classification can make the difference between a certified, qualified product and a homemade waterproofing system. The performances are also defined in our technical data sheet according to the specification of the norms. We see crack bridging ability under standard condition because we have to test it in different conditions. We propose clearly the value of the deformation they have the material, and I just give this initial tensile adhesion, how much they can fix on the substrate. So this is just to tell you that in your position, when you have to give the advice or give a specification about a waterproofing system, you are not alone. You have our staff, local staff can help you, but on your own, you can refer to this kind of standard to guarantee to your customer and to your project that the waterproofing is doing what it's supposed to do, okay? Okay, so this is a possible stratigraphy we can have. I'm going to close. This is a possible stratigraphy we have. We have the waterproofing system, we have the screed. Of course, we can also adopt other type of material than classical one to fix the tiles or fix or prepare the substrate. So the waterproofing system is blocking the water, okay? But maybe you can also change the system adopting different binder for the substrate which have a humidity, residual moisture lower than 4% after 3 days. Let me spend one word on this, only one. Imagine you do this. Imagine you do this substrate. And imagine you do it with Portland cement, you know? Okay. Maybe you do, I don't know, 4 centimeter, let's say 4 centimeter. When you do this with Portland cement, how many days you have to wait before fixing tile? We don't go home if you don't answer. If I use a Portland cement here, I need 7 days for every centimeter thickness. So if you do 5 centimeter, it is 35 days, okay? Nobody will wait this time. They do that, and 2 days after, they apply the tiles. And this is full of water. And the water will produce shrinkage in the element and will produce efflorescences on the floor. If you don't care about this, if your customer don't care about this, let's go on this way, no problem. But if you want to do a good job, you need to wait 7 days for each centimeter. If you adopt a special binder for the screed, you just need to wait 3 days, 2 days, 4 days if it's a winter, okay? Because the special binder set and reduce the humidity lower than 4%, which is what required for fixing tiles, 4 or 5, in few days. It's just the tips I give to you in case you have a job site. Sometimes we use this kind of material when they are in hurry. They need to finish a hospital, they need to finish a shopping mall, and they cannot wait 30 days to finish the job. So in 1 week, they need to close. So special binder for the substrate, for the tile, and for the grouting. And in few days, sometimes in 1 night, it's done. Okay, I finished with the substrate, the last 10 minutes. I have 10 minutes? Do I have 10 minutes? Okay, the substrate, unfortunately, this part, I leave this part always at last because everybody wants to listen about the adhesive and the norms. But I tell you a secret. All the things we say now before, they are super good to do. But if you make a mistake here, nothing will work. So the substrate must be flat. There are many international norms, many international standards that provide you the quality of the flatness of the substrate. You know why the international standard talk about the flatness of the substrate? Because people use the adhesive to flat the surface. And now my colleague will be very not happy if I say this. The adhesive cannot really do this job. I know they do it. I know in the job site they do it. But the adhesive is made of cement, sand, and additive. But the sand in the cement is very, very, very thin. You remember the concrete? The concrete has rocks inside, rocks, stone, because the concrete needs to do thickness. So there is a relation between the size of the aggregates and the thickness they can do. The adhesive has very, very fine sand. If you push the adhesive to a significant thickness, it will break because it's not done for that. There are the leveling compound to do that. Self-leveling, thixotropic, fast, not fast, whatever it is. The substrate must be clean before fixing tile. Do you think this is okay? Remember, we have 3 minutes left. Huh? Do you think this is fine? Do you think is there any problem here? Yes, there is a big problem. All the fine part, all the powder is on the top, you see, and all the big part is on the bottom. So it means that in this point here, there is no distribution of the aggregates, so there is no link. And when you fix tile here, or you do leveling, whatever you do, they will attach to the thin layer and will detach it. In fact, you take the tile, you look at that, and you say you have the tile, you have the adhesive, and then you have a thin layer, which is this one, that you lift up from the substrate. This happened because we put too much water into the compound. So the water separates the elements. This is a big problem that we need to solve before fixing tile. If we have cracks, we need to close the cracks, maybe with epoxy system. Yeah, this makes me lose my 5 minutes. I know that. Okay, we need to fill the crack with the epoxy system because the crack has some kind of natural joints, let me say. We cannot fill the crack with the cement. Normally people say, okay, I have some adhesive or some cement. I can't. Why not? Because this is cement. If there is a crack, it means that the cement is not able to bear the formation of the crack. I need something stronger than cement. In fact, I can use this. Oh, no, there is a picture of a product. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I forgot it. Forget the name. Anyway, this is an epoxy system, epoxy resin. You can pour into the crack and close it in a monolithic way. But the point is not what product I use to fill the crack. The point is why I have cracks. If I don't understand why I have cracks, I close the crack, and then another day there will be another one over there. So the question I put myself and to you is why I have a crack. Maybe you have cracks because you don't do the joints. Cement need expansion joints. Every 9 square meter, 25 square meter, 12 square meter, depending on the application you have to do. But we have to do that. We have to cut it 1/3 of the thickness of the screed of the substrate, and then do the joint. Otherwise, we have a crack like this. Normally, in interior application, we have joints every 25, 30 square meter. Outdoor, we have joints every 9, 12, maybe 16 square meter, depending on the shape or geometry of the substrate. But we need to do that. And once we do the joint, you see here there is a joint. Of course, here there is another big problem. You see what is the problem here? The joint is right because, but the tile, they fix the tile over the joint. So all this tile here will be broken, for sure. So the tile must respect the joint here and here. So not possible to cross over it once it is there. And there are many types of joints in the structure. We don't have time to see one by one them. But there are different types of joints that we need to consider. You need to consider. And we are here to help you, of course, eventually if you call us before the job. And To reduce the formation of cracks, we can also add into the screed some fibers, metallic or polyester fiber, something that is going to reduce the shrinkage or bear the shrinkage of the concrete. Or we can adopt some additives. There are some special additives in a very low dosage, 1% of the weight of the cement, that can provide you some reducing of the shrinkage of the cement Portland compounds. Okay, these are some examples of a screed that can be done in the job site. All of them, they have their specification to be done because the layer of cement cannot be just done 2, 3, 4, 5 centimeters, must respect the regulation about the screed. Just give you an example here. We are doing a screed of 3 centimeters, but before doing this, we need to apply a slurry bond coat on the surface. Otherwise, we have this effect. So if you do 3 centimeters of cement, but you don't fix it by the slurry bond coat, it will lift up on the corner and will be broken. And once the screed is broken, the tile will be broken. Okay, so now we don't go through all of them. Here there is plastic, you see. Here there is a flexible material under the screed, thermal isolation panel. So every one of them has some specific requirement to be respected. I finish with this one, and then I really finish. Because this kind of element is quite new in the market, at least. In Italy, we introduced it 3-4 years ago, but maybe in the United States it's much more common than other countries. Anyway, when we talk of large format tiles, and when we talk of preparation of the substrate, we need to pay attention to a little detail, which is that if I have a joint on the floor, and I buy, and I want to fix a large format tiles, imagine that you buy the tile, 3 meter tile, you want to fix down, but there is a joint. As you see in the picture before, I cannot go over the joint. Otherwise, the tile will be broken. So I need to cut the tile. But, of course, if you buy a large tile, you don't want to cut it. So what is the solution? The joint is there. I need to respect it. What can I do? The tile is here. I pay 300 euro per square meter for this tile. Now I cut it? Never. So one solution is to adopt the anti-fracture membrane. These are one type. We have the joint, or even maybe some cracks, but we have the joints, and we don't need to respect it because the anti-fracture membrane will cover everything, and I do the joint where I want according to the geometry and the design of my new tile or the flooring. So it's quite common solution can be adopted in case of presence of joint, heating screed, etc., stuff like this. Just an idea I give to you in case you want to fix a large format tile. Application is very easy and can be used in different kind of environmental conditions. If we put all together, we can have very nice and successful application in even not easy condition. Of course, here, do you think this is deformable? Yes. Do you think it's not absorbent? Not absorbent. The tile is big? The tile is big. So if I sit on the table on my desk one moment and I write on the paper all the circumstances of this job site, then I can refer to the international standard, to my partner in this job, can be MAPEI, can be whatever, and find the best technical solution to not go back again every year doing the job. I'm sorry I rushed in the last part because I feel the minutes here. So thank you very much. It's been very nice. If you have any questions, for me, it's a pleasure to answer to you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I think a lot of information, especially even though we are practicing more than 15 years, for example, we still have a few other things that we can learn from the other projects. So, okay, this is quite tall. Okay. I'd like to express our sincere appreciation, especially for our two-day sponsor, PAM Malaysia's neighborhood, for the support of this event. Without further ado, I would like to it's my pleasure to introduce our second speaker for today, Mr. Yong Waitik, from PAM Malaysia's neighborhood, who will delivering an introduction to the product and sharing his talk. Please join and give a welcome to him. Thank you.
Right. So a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yong. So I'm actually the head of the specifications. Right. Me and Marcos, we are actually belongs to the company that we have. Is in the third generations, and the CEOs are actually it's a family business. Yeah. So in terms of the MAPE Group, in 2024, our turnover was actually 4.4 billion euros. Yeah. And we have actually more than 106 subsidiaries in 5 continents over 42 countries. And basically, we also have 8,100 products. That's actually a lot. Yeah. And in terms of the context of Malaysia, MAPE Malaysia, we have our own Nilai plant. It's in Nilai and Negeri Sembilan, and it's fully owned. And it was actually built in 2013. Fully production in 2015, and last year we celebrated 35 years anniversary. And in this plant itself, most of the cementitious and also the liquid products are produced here. Only very special products and like roll form membrane or some special epoxy materials, resin products, we are still importing directly from Italy. Otherwise, we will not be competitive enough in local. Yeah, and of course, in these plants, we do have the production, besides the productions and warehouse, we have the product development lab, we also have the QC lab. And of course, we do have the technical service and also the training room. And I'd like to extend the invitations to you guys to pay attention and invite you to actually visit our plant in Nilai for insightful trainings and also on the demos of the materials. You can actually have the view of the material in this Nilai plant. And of course, currently, we are also building our Johor plant. It's in Senai. Yeah, that is actually 2.5 times bigger the capacities compared to our Nilai plant in Malaysia. Yeah, so it's actually estimated to be completed in the Q4 of 2026. Right, as I mentioned earlier, we have 26 products line. In Malaysia, not all of them, I think it's only 20 of them, right? So we can actually see, first of all, the ceramics and also the adhesive products. We also have the supplementary products that is actually supplied in as total solutions. We do have waterproofing as well, right? We also have the sports flooring, right? And also we have the solutions for healthcare, like our resilient flooring, basically from the self-leveling up to the adhesive to receive the vinyl flooring. And we do have, in case of the cavities or you have any defects on the structure, we do have products to actually, address that on the concrete repairs products. And of course, we do have solutions for the, conservative buildings, the restoration lines product as well, right? So I don't need to dwell on that, but I think most importantly, the message of today is actually we are one of the corporate companies that is actually focused in sustainability. So whenever you see, we carry this zero line products, and we're talking about reaching about this CO2 fully offset. This is actually in lines with what our government's actually preaching about the ESG compliances, especially to the main boards of the listed company. So we do have the solutions for that. Right, I would like to play you some videos of this.
Sustainability means being committed every day to building a present designed to have a future. A better future with zero impact. Sustainability means making informed choices that respect the environment and the health of those who live it.
It's only by choosing quality products that future generations will be able to live what I designed today.
Thanks to these products, I can carry out more durable works, so I can also make my contribution, and I even work better.
Respecting the environment means taking care of it as if it were something of ours. Because it is ours. It's everybody's.
And this is exactly what people do when choosing zero products by MAPE. Thanks to our research, we have optimized their formulas and their impact on the planet. We are also committed to offsetting all CO2 emissions produced during their entire life cycle. Choosing zero products by MAPE means giving your real support to reforestation projects and transitioning towards a low-carbon economy.
For my projects, I want zero products by MAPE.
Every day, I use zero products by MAPE.
For my home, I want zero products by MAPE.
Let's build a sustainable future together. Everything's okay with MAPE.
Right. So that is actually on the videos. And we actually started this efforts in our HQ since 2013. And after 13 years, this is actually what our presence in, on the zero line products in around the world. Right. At these, how do we actually, as a responsible sensibility manufacturers, how do we actually reducing CO2 emissions at the organization level, and of course at the product level as well? Right. First of all, we actually reduce the CO2 emissions at the organization by actually focusing on the improved efficiencies and also the shift to the renewable sources to lower the energy related to the emissions. Secondly, we have the ways we are talking about reducing the material usage and also maximize the recycling to minimize the environmental impact. The third one would be the circularity, to promote and reuse and consider the full life cycle of materials to keep the resources in use longer. Right, we walk the talk, and in 2024, we actually installed the solar panels in our plant, right? So this is actually happened in 2024 in our Nilai plant. And in terms of the product level, what do we do in terms of the formulations? We actually choose low carbon materials. And on the productions itself, we actually, by optimizing manufacturing the efficiency. Number 3 would be on the supply chain by reducing the transport and also the logistic impact. Right, so, and we talk about all this, there are things that we are focusing on the products, which is actually on the EPD certified. So this is Environmental Product Declaration. Right, so how does this EPD developing? So it's actually all started with the life cycle assessment. Right, those is actually a massive measurements of the environmental impacts of the products along its life cycle. And then we have actually carried out with the software, and they will actually verify by the third party, right, and during this process. And lastly, they will actually issue us this EPD cert, and this is in accordance to the ISO standard 14025, right. So, and we are actually proudly to show you, I think there's more than that. In Malaysia, currently we have actually, I think, more than 4. Yeah, just to show you, the first one would be the Mapelastic, right? This is actually our waterproofing. The rest are the tile adhesive, and also the last one would be our tile grouts, right? So if whenever you see the product name carry 0, that is actually the one that we are already in the zero line products. Yeah. So in this production, you can also download it from the website and with the EPD reports, right, available. So basically what to highlight in each of the reports, they are actually having the unique codes, the EPD registration number. So this is actually unique by every product. So you can actually not generalize for all the products, yeah. And of course, it does actually has the validities of 5 years for each of the products, yeah. Just to take note on that. Right, so in MAPE, we do offset the CO2 residual emissions generated by all activities involved in the productions and of its products through the reforestation projects and also the biodiversities of the conservations. That's actually highlighted in the video earlier. Right, just to give you an idea, for how do we actually do this carbon credit the process. Right, for example, we take our products called Ultra Color Plus, which is our tile grout, right? And by assessing the annual productions in the tonnage, we multiply by the kgs of the CO2 per kgs of the finished products. That's actually equals to the tons of the CO2 that we need to purchase for the offset, right? And for example, the CO2 for 100 meters square, 100 meters square that we laid with our Caraflex Maxi S10 would actually give you roughly 163 kg of CO2. And for 100 meters squares of grouted with our Ultra Color Plus will give you 10 to 15 kg the CO2. So the installation system itself will roughly give you 180 kg of CO2. That actually makes up the annual upticks of 2 trees, yeah? If you are using a complete system, including the tin tiles, yeah, and that will actually save the planet 1,800 kgs of CO2, exactly as 20 trees would do in a year. Right, in 2025, MAPE offset 430,000 tons of CO2. That's actually equals to approximately 220 rounds revolutions with travel by plane, around the. So these are the projects reference that we have actually done, covering all the different product lines. Just to give you an idea, we are also proud to be present in these iconic projects. This is the Merdeka 118 and the Park Hyatt Hotel. The products that's involved are the ceramics and stone, and also the acoustics installations at the hotel. Next will be in Sarawak. This is actually our Dataran Ibu Pertiwi. The products involved are the ceramics and also the stone at the outdoor. We have medical lines. We have Sunway Medical Centers for the products of vinyl flooring and also the tile, adhesive, and grouts. Of course, we do have the Maya Bay residents at Gamuda Cove Townships. That the products actually involved in IBS. We do have supplies a lot of products in IBS solutions. And we have waterproofing, tile, adhesive, and also the grout. For this one, this is actually a refurbishment project in Mahkamah Tinggi, KL. Right, the products involved are waterproofings, tile, adhesive, and also grouts. And we do have the protective coating as well as what we actually highlighted earlier on the 26 product lines. Right, so this is actually on the wall coatings and also the concrete protections. If you actually drive along to your way to JB, you will actually see a lot of, they are upgrading because of the Visit Johor here. They are actually upgrading all these viaducts and pillars that is actually protected with the coat. So you can see they are using MAPEs. And we also have industrial projects like this is actually one of it in Penang, the semicon industry, the Elite Material Company Limited factory. There's actually products that involve from roof to the floor, from the basement, roof, and tanks, and also the resin floor and wall coatings. And this is actually one of the things that very hit, since last year. We have this is actually one of the biggest court we did in Thomas Pickleball Club in Subang. The products that's involved is spot flooring. Of course, this actually is a pickleball court as well, right? And this is another iconic one. We also supplies to the Petronas Sepang International Circuits. And you can see the line markings and all that, right? The racetrack system. So not all actually products can actually comply. We are one of the few that can actually comply to the standards that are required. Right, so with that, thank you very much. Thank you.
Before we go for a break, I think I would like to invite both our speakers to the stage for Q&A session. Yeah, yes, yeah, Mr. Marco and Mr. Yong. Yeah. Please. Okay, any questions from the floor? I think can we bring the microphone? Okay. We have a quick one. A very quick one, Q&A. Okay, I have one question. What is, if the budget is an issue to the client, what actually is the element that they should not or maybe never compromise, especially on the tiling works?
You're talking about our support to them?
Yes. I mean, they are really limited in budget, for example.
Yeah, but first of all, I have to tell that in MAPE conception, one of the key points is the quality. So even when the budget is not sustainable, let me say, for the job site, we are lucky. MAPE is a lucky company because we have a very huge range of material. So it means that the first proposal I give to you is not the most expensive. Is the best one I can give you by the technical point of view. If this is not matching the requirement in the job site, we can just skip slightly to more acceptable by the commercial point of view solution. Anyway, we are always in the safe part of the things. So even the lowest, the cheapest product we can provide you is anyway a little bit higher than the normal quality standard you find on the market. And the second thing I can tell you is that we normally try not to propose one product. We try to propose a system, So, okay, this product is too expensive for you. We can skip to another one. Of course, we can do that, but please consider that if you adopted these other products, which is good anyway, maybe we may match it with the other system that can secure to you, be safe, that you can do it. Sometimes we don't take the job. We don't take it. If you want to go too low, and I'm not sure that things will go fine, acceptable, we don't take it.
Okay. That's the idea. All right. Any question from the floor? Anyone? Yes, please.
Yeah, just want to ask, because I'm actually involved with the seismic studies from 2005. We formulated our earthquake code according to Eurocode 8. It's MS 1998. I just want to ask, how are your adhesives helping out in the earthquake situation? I know that you have probably earthquake in Italy and throughout the world, but of course, as the architectural section of this 1998, I was involved with. They was asking me at that time to start testing for tiles, external and internal, when they face the ground acceleration, how the adhesive will perform during the ground acceleration. We are in zone 3 of our earthquake situation here in Malaysia.
I hope I catch properly your question, sir. And
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that adhesives are part that holds the tile, whether it's, and tiles that fall during an earthquake situation are the one of the major causes of death and fatalities and injuries. It's not the earthquake structure. It's actually the tiles and the finishes, including, fixtures like lightings, air conducts. These are all part of the architectural situation that I had to be involved in. And just want to know from the adhesive side, which is the tiles, structure is not normally the one that kills. We already know that from the check. It's always the finished product, the shelves that come off, mechanical parts. But so on your side is the adhesive to the tiles. The external tiles, marble tile, whatever, are huge, heavy, and they're the main cause of any injury that will result from a tremor. I just want to know how adhesives are, your point, with the Eurocode 8, how do you comply with that?
Yes, make one. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. No, the adhesive, fixing tile, fixing marble are out of any significant calculation about the earthquake situation in the different zone complied by the standard. So, MAPEI has more than 26 lines of production. One of these lines is the adhesive, but in case of special events, special job site, like preventing earthquakes damage or restoring situation damage, if possible, of course, by the structural point of view of structure damaged by earthquakes, we have a full, complete system made of composite material. So it means that we have epoxy systems mixed with fiber, carbon, elements, net, mesh, and high-resistant cement-based mortar, quick or not quick in this case. But these systems are not supposed to be used to fix tiles. They are supposed to restore the concrete elements or the bricks wall elements damaged by earthquakes. Once we do this, so we do the reinforcement of the reparation by the use of this composite material, then we can adopt eventually an adhesive for fixing tiles or marble. In this case, of course, the main characteristic we require to the adhesive is not fast or not fast, but is complying the international standard concerning the deformation. Because in this case, we suppose that the system will be still deformable even when we repair it. And so the class S2, which is a minimum deformation higher than 5 millimeter, is mandatory in our conception, I mean. Apart of this, consider that when there is an earthquake, the government get into the job with some specific requirement for that. So MAPEI we are cooperating with the national office, technical office for this kind of things. And not only MAPEI, Italian company cooperate, but in our case, we are in a good position because compared to competitors, we have a very complete system. So just to answer your question, adhesive, facetting for tile and stone, in case of earthquakes, nothing to do. So first, we need to be sure to repair the elements that have been damaged, if possible, because sometimes it's not possible. But when it's possible, we do that. Once we do that, the only mandatory key point we require to the adhesive is the class S2, which is recognized by the ISO 137. This is what our approach.
Okay, I think, is it answering your question? Okay. Because I think we need certain data to analyze what kind of...
that's for reparation.
Yeah.
That is for, I'm asking about what kind of adhesive is produced by MAPEI, say, for prevention. That means, like, say, the tower in 101 Taiwan is highly earthquake, highest prone. Japan has a lot of earthquake areas, New Zealand as well. What kind of adhesive do they recommend?
I understand now what you say, but the adhesive cannot prevent anything in case of earthquakes.
Thank you.
So in case of a region subject to by government investigation to earthquake situation, the key point is not the adhesive, but it is the leveling, reinforcing, and all the substrate preparation. So the adhesive is not in the position to save anything in case of earthquakes. But after this, I can tell you, maybe you already know, that in some countries, like for example in Japan, they adopt a different kind of fixing material. Also in Korea, I think. So they prefer the spot bonding adhesion, because they think in this way, in case of earthquakes or in case of movements, the deformation of the system is much higher because it's free to move. Now, this is an approach we can like or we don't like. We accept it because they are done in Japan and in Korea. But if you go in Italy, in Germany, in Sweden, in Malaysia, go. So in Italy is a place we have zone 3. We have big problem for this kind of earthquakes. But in that case, we don't adopt the spot bonding. We always prefer working on the substrate and then adopt the S2 adhesive. So the only adhesive is not enough to save anything. It is the substrate to making the difference. Then, in certain country, the application of the adhesive is different from what we do normally. So normally we do the double buttering and they do the spotting. Anyway, they must be S2 adhesive minimum.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm very sorry because we have very limited time. Yeah, very short now. Now it's already over the
yes
time
or no?
that we scheduled. So if you have further questions, they have a counter on outside from the hall. Maybe you can ask for the question, or maybe you can get contact number from them. So we can go further with our discussion. Thank you very much for both of our speakers. And then before we go for maybe give round of applause for both of our speakers today. Thank you. All right. Datuk Ezumi Harzani graduated with bachelor degree in housing, building and planning a Bachelor of Architecture from University of Science Malaysia, and Master of Philosophy, Policy Studies from University of Technology Malaysia. He was elected as President of Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia for 4 terms between 2017 to 2022 and become the Chairman of Architect Centre Sdn Bhd from 2017 to 2022. Ezumi has appointed as a board member of Board of Architect Malaysia 2013 until 2021, advisory board member of Kuala Lumpur City Hall 2015 until 2019. Ministry of Housing Panel of Expert 2022 until 2025, and presently as a member of Pemuda. In architecture practice, he is a chairman of Architect MAA Sdn Bhd, who leads in the implementations of various projects portfolio, including hospitals, residentials, and office buildings. He is also the recipient of the Royal Institute of British Architects RIBA President Medals in 2019. Without further ado, I would invite Mr. Architect Ezumi to the stage. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. Okay, I have not been standing here for quite some time. Okay, getting older and older, it's very difficult for me to step out to this stage. Okay. Okay, I was approached by PAM to give a talk, and I don't really have topics that I want to talk. So then, looking through my WhatsApp messages, and then I found a discussion before about the buck stops with the architects. So the discussion was about who is to be blamed in the failure of the construction or defects and renovation after the construction. So I think maybe this is an opportunity for me to share what is the real story behind the article, The Buck Stopped with the Architect. Okay. So who is responsible for the endless renovation? In 2022, in Kuala Lumpur, there were a lot of renovation works. I'm not talking about big projects. This is a small project, and many small projects at that time. Terrace houses, semi-D, bungalows, or car porch extension, extension of the kitchen. So it was about a small works renovation. But DBKS still requires for the applicants or the owner to get the architect to do the submission, to get the approval for the renovation. So for a small project, the architect don't really pay much attention to it. Sometimes the drawing was done by draft person and get the architect to sign, or registered with the draftsman, prepare the drawing and do the submission. And then the owner take their own sweet time to do the renovation. Months after months, wait for next salary to come, and then do a little bit renovation. So after many months, after years, still haven't completed. And the architect also do not attend to the site because there is no proper schedule. They are living there. They are doing the renovation in the place that they stay. So the issue is that the neighbors are complaining. So neighbors complain. The neighbors next door doing the renovation for the last 2 years, 3 years, never complete. Then the complaint comes to DBKL. So DBKL said the information that DBKL has is only the owner and the submitting person. Who are the submitting person? The architects. Who are the contractors? They don't know because there is no information about the contractor in the submission of the application to DBKL. So this article actually was published in the Star 16 August 2022. So at that time, DBKL said that we have to start to impose time limit. For any renovation, it has to be completed within 12 months or 1 year, because they don't want the prolongation in the renovation work that give a lot of disturbance to the neighbors. So after this was published, then the reporter contacted PAM, okay, to get the view from PAM. And they also contacted some of the council member of PAM. So what happened? Past President Saifuddin Ahmad was the one responded to the reporter saying that the architect for the renovation work, because the architect is the submitting person, the architect is responsible to monitor the works. So this is how the reporter actually pick up the line, but stop with the architects, say PAM past president. So what happened after that? So in the social media, there's a lot of discussion, and also the WhatsApp group, a lot of discussion saying that that statement is not correct, because the project already completed with CCC, and renovation is not under the responsibility of the architect. That is correct as well. Both are correct. But when the owner wants to do renovation, the owner needs to submit plan for renovation work. So for renovation work, not necessarily the original architect who submit the plan. The submitting person can be another architect for the renovation work. So what the past president referring to actually is the submitting person for the renovation work, not the original architects. So I need to clarify here that, so this issue is because the renovation work among the construction work is very small. And some of the practitioners out there, they just sign the plan for submission, but they never supervise, they never monitor. They don't even know when the project is going to be completed on site. So that's the reason why the past president say that the buck stop with the architect, because architect must know, must monitor, must supervise, cannot leave to the owner to do the construction when and whenever as they like. So that is why he's referring to that. So under the Architects Rules 1996 Code of Conduct, an architect shall, in the exercise of his profession, observe and be guided by the provision of Code of Conduct for architect in part 1 of the second schedule. So the Code of Conduct for architect, there are 4 parts: compliant with acts and rules, faithful discharge of duties and obligation, and professional integrity. And the last one, respect for the legitimate rights and interests of others. Usually among the architect, the last one is very important, so that there's no supplanting, other people will not take your job. You need letter of release. But more importantly is number 2, this faithful discharge of duties and obligation. So what is faithful discharge of duties and obligation? So under Code of Professional Conduct, para 3, para 5, an architect shall exercise a reasonable standard of skill and diligence normally expected and accepted by his profession in respect of, but not limited to, the following. So out of that 4, 2 that I highlighted here, the first one is all forms of certification. And the other one is site supervision. Of course, the rest is architect, contract administration, compliance with statutory requirements, that is also part of it. But relevant to this one, I want to highlight on the certification and site supervision. So when the architect or the submitting person submit the application in Form A to the local authority, that submitting person already certified that he will take the responsibility and he will supervise the work. Okay? So this is where the reasonable scale and duty of care came into the obligation of the architects. So under architect's rule, condition of engagement rule 29, condition of engagement 1, scope of services, and periodic inspection. Those are the two main things that you have to do, no matter how small are the projects. Okay? And then duty of care, Code of Professional Conduct, Rule 28, faithful discharge of duties and obligation. Okay, this is Form A. It's very important for the architects to understand what is Form A. Form A is not just a mere application form to get your plan approved. Okay, although that is what your client always see it. The client always sees it. Form A is the application to get the plan to approve. Okay, but what is very important here is that the declaration. So under the Code of Conduct, there is the certification, any form of certification. I certify that the details in the plan, namely the project title, the location, are in accordance with the requirements of Uniform Building Bylaws 1984, and I accept full responsibility accordingly. So that's why the buck stops with the architect. Because the architect is the one who said that I accept full responsibility, not the contractor and not the owner. So this is why we have to explain to the client that even though the client say that they will self-manage, they will supervise because they are staying in their own house that they are doing the renovation, but we have to express to them that the architect still take full responsibility, and it is already declared, signed and submitted. Then this is a gazetted form under Uniform Building Bylaw, and this become your formal legal obligation and responsibility. So the client cannot say that you don't have to supervise. I will supervise. Later you come and give me CCC. You cannot allow the client to do that. Okay? Because of this declaration. And what is in Form B? Form B again is a notification for commencement of work. So it's very basic form. Originally, it's just one form that you notify the authority that I'm going to commence the work in 4 days. If nothing happens, there's no objection, I will proceed with the work. And you must proceed. You cannot say that I'm going to carry out the work in 4 days, but you keep 4 months later. You can't do that. In that declaration, if it is declared that it's going to commence the work in 4 days, that it has to be done in 4 days. So this is again another declaration. So in the form of notification, I give notice that after the expiration of 4 days from the date of receipt of this notice, I intend to commence or resume the building operation if in case of suspension of work before. But for new work, I intend to commence. So who commence the work? Who is doing the work? It's again architect, not the contractor. This Form B notification is again the architect, SPSP, who make the declaration to say that I'm the one who's going to do the work. I'm the one who's going to commence the operation of the buildings, the operation of the construction. that is again why the buck stopped with the architects. So we always take this Form A and Form B very lightly without realizing that we already stick out our neck to say that I take full responsibility, I'm going to do the construction. Although that we know that architects not the one who do the construction on site, not the physical construction. But through this declaration, through the gazetted form, this is a legal document to say that, yes, I am the one who's going to commence the work. Okay? And according to the approved plan. So, okay, bylaw, this is the latest edition, Uniform Building Bylaw 2021. Bylaw 2D. Last time only bylaw 2, now the new edition have bylaw 2A, B, C, D, because they included in the new bylaw the commencement for demolition works. So notice of the intention to commence or resume the demolition of building required under section 79, 70 bracket 9 of the Act shall be made in Form B of the second schedule and shall include particular of the intended work. So if the work is not commenced or resumed on the date given in such notice, a further notice in Form B of the second schedule shall be given before the works commence. So that's why I say that if you say that you're going to commence work in 4 days, if the form dated 10 of May, by 14th of May, 15th of May, you have to start work already. So, but if you do not start work on that date, then you have to issue another notice. That's what the law says. But usually the local authority, for 1 or 2 days, they don't really check. Okay. But when things happen, then when there's dispute, then everybody will start to see the detail. So does that mean that your declaration earlier is invalid? Because it does not follow the date that you have declared. So under the Street Drainage and Building Act, subsection 79, okay, no person shall commence the erection of building or resume the erection of building in any case where the work of erection has been suspended for a continuous period exceeding 3 months, unless Form B, unless the work is commenced, unless if the work is commenced or resumed, as the case may be within 12 months from the approval. So I underline that the suspension for a continuous period exceeding 3 months. Why? So you remember when the owner, following their own schedule, whenever they want to do works, and then they stop. And so if the owner stopped the work for more than 3 months, so what's going to happen? When they want to continue the work, they have to submit another Form B to resume the work. But what is more important than that? If the work has been suspended or stopped for more than 3 months, it becomes your obligation as the submitting person to notify the local authority that this work has been suspended, so that the authority can come, inspect the condition and give a proper instruction whether the space need to be ensured in terms of safety, there's no access so that no children can go into your renovation works area. And by doing that, then you are free of liability because you already notified the authority. It becomes the responsibility of the authority to go and inspect and give further instruction to the owner. But if you do not do that, so that's why the buck stop at the architect again, because you have failed to discharge your duty to inform the local authority that the work has already stopped for 3 months. Okay, so in the eyes of the local authority, you are still in the progress of the construction. Anything happen during that period, then the architect is still responsible. So that's why the article actually says that everything is the architect's fault. So, notify the suspension of construction works to local authority. Okay, so that they know the work has been stopped, then they will come for inspection. Okay, finally, after they continue the work, everything's completed, then, as usual, after the inspection, if involve the utilities, everything, but for small renovation work does not involve the utility providers, then you can issue the CCC in Form F. Because you don't need the local authority inspection for small renovation work. For G12, it is not required for authority inspection. But this is again the final declaration. I hereby issue the certificate of completion and compliance for the building. Okay, the name of the building, the project title, upon being satisfied that it has been completed in accordance with the approved plan. And I have supervised the erection and completion of the buildings. And is to best my knowledge and believe that such work are in accordance with the Act, Uniform Building Bylaw, approved plan. I hereby certify that the building is safe and fit for occupation. So this is very important declaration that you supervise. No matter how small the work, when you declare this, you are responsibility for the construction. Of course, sometimes you may not be physically there all the time. You have your site supervisors, you have your site agent. But what is important to explain to the client that you have to sign this, that you supervise this work. So the client cannot say that he supervised this, okay? Because he's not signing this. Okay. So out of all the discussion about delaying in completion of the renovation work, cause a disturbance, and then who is responsible for that? Just few days after that, from 22nd of August to 9 September 2022, DBKM Mayor, Datuk Sri Mahadi Cik Ngah at that time, made announcement that minor renovations to no longer require certified permits. So it means that you don't need, for minor renovation, you don't need to submit the plans because you don't need the certified permit. This is even more dangerous to the architects because you certify the CCC, okay, upon completion. Then you deposit the CCC with the local authority. After that, the owner renovate here and there, then the local authority has no record. So what happened, even recently still happened. They extended the flat roof of the porch and they put another story on top of the flat roof. The flat roof collapsed into the neighbor's car and neighbor's unit. Luckily, they admitted that the fault of the contractor, and the contractor is not registered contractor, of course. Okay? What if they say that this one was based on the architect advice or based on the original plan? So this is where I think we have to be very clear and we have to explain to the client that, okay, even if you want to do small renovation, if it involves the structure especially, better do the submission, although that the local authority say it is not required. Okay? And duty of care, this is where we are still obliged to it because we have duty of care under the architect's rule, a Code of Professional Conduct, Rule 28, faithful discharge of duties and obligation. Although that, because that was our original design, so even if they just give you a phone call, okay, I want to do renovation, I want to extend my kitchen, I want to extend my porch, and then you just say, okay lah, no need to submit, because now the BKL say that for minor renovation, you don't need the permit, you don't need the building plan approval. That advice can be misinterpreted that to bigger renovation, which is more risky. So my advice that even for a small one, okay, if they don't ask you, then it's okay, easier to say that they never consult you. But if they ask you, can I do this? And as a professional person, you are responsible under your duty of care. Okay, and recently in 2024, then the construction work design and management regulation has been enacted, has been approved. Previously in 2017, it was just guideline, now it becomes regulation. So the good thing is about this, that if you see in terms of the responsibility and obligation, okay, part 1, preliminary, part 2, which is very important, client duties. Part 2, client duties, which is very important, and the rest is duties and role in relation to safety and health. So part 2 is client duty, which is very important. Many of our practitioners today still do not accept the implementation of CWDM, and because of the role of principal designer in the principal construction work designer that usually will be put onto the architects. Okay, so many of us is not happy with this, the implementation of this regulation. But if you look at on the positive side, this is where actually you are protected, because they put part 2 client duties first before other people. And why part 2 is important? You see 4.1, client duties in relation to project management. The first one, A, allocation of sufficient time, fund, and other resources. In the earlier talk, I think there was one question asked about what if client do not have budget for the waterproofing system. That is the responsibility of the client. Allocation sufficient fund. Okay? If you do not have sufficient fund, do the smaller one, or do not do yet. But you should not compromise by saying, okay lah, I do for you, if you know that the waterproofing is going to fail. So this is where actually we need to hold to this, to say that client, it is your responsibility to pay for the site supervisor, to pay for architect's fee, to pay for good material. So that's why I say that in concept, in principle, the implementation of CWDM is very good because it put the responsibility on the client. In the before this, it's always the designer, the architect take the responsibility for the material selection, method of construction. But now, due to lacking of fund or maybe time, like what Marco mentioned just now, they want the tiling work to be completed early. It's supposed to set and cure within certain period, 7 days for every centimeter thickness. But the client said, I want it to be done by tomorrow. So this is where the client should take that responsibility if the waterproofing fail or if the wall fail, the tiling work fail, because it becomes the client duties. And B, the construction work can be carried out so far as is practicable without any risk to the safety and health of any person affected by the project. This is again back to the first one, when the neighbor complained that the renovation next door never been completed, keep on delaying. This is again, it goes to the client's duty. And C, the facility as specified in second schedule are provided in respect of any person carrying out the construction work. Then only it goes to any other person, including the consultant and contractor. So, and of course, I don't want to go to detail, the pre-construction process, during the construction and post-construction. At every stage, there are responsibilities by the project owner and also by the consultant. So I'm happy that when the regulators start to see that the main culprit in failure is not always the contractor and it's not always the consultant. It can be because of the project owner or the developer. Because why? They want to cut budget. For example, safety preliminary. They want to reduce the cost. Okay, they do not provide sufficient equipment, harness, for example. So this is where the responsibility go back to the owner. And number 7, okay, I skipped number 6. Number 7, appointment of principal construction work designer. I think it should be designer, typo error. Appointment of principal construction work designer, PCWD. This is what we are debating now. We say that we don't want to be the PCWD. We don't want to take that responsibility. This is very important for us to be the people at the front leading the construction industry to take this responsibility. Because if the client do not appoint you as the person responsible for this and to coordinate the implementation, then it may go to another party or another body who will later on will make you the worker to them. You have to report every single thing to them. And you start become annoying. Then you start to make noise. Why these people is taking my job? Why these people is doing my job? Okay? You got what I mean or not? Okay? Because this is offered to you, but if you refuse to take this role, and then the client say, okay, I give to building surveyor, I give to the QS, for example. So you end up doing the report, everything for them, and sometimes they are not the actual person who understand your design, because it is your design and the engineer's design. So that's why when the client say, I want to appoint you as the PCWD, you say, yes, thank you. Go back to number 1. Allocate sufficient fund. My fee for taking this responsibility is this much. So do it. Other than client say, okay, you refuse to take this responsibility, I will give to other people, I cut your fee to pay that people. Even worse. Okay? All right, so I think I probably skip the rest. Okay. So 2 days ago, I had this presentation to also with Marco. He was there as well at Radar 2 days ago, talking about defects. So type and aspect of defects. Every time there is defect, the occurrence of defect, people will straight away look at the contractor or the architect, whether it is design failure, construction defects, design defect, or material defect. It can be supplier as well. So design defect is errors or inadequacies in the design itself. Construction defect, problem arising from physical construction. Material defect, deficiencies in the physical material use. But the origin, okay, the origin of the defect, whether for design defect is architect, engineer, consultant, or owner. Previously, it's always consultant, contractor, consultant and contractor. But with this new CDM, now the owner is also responsible for the design defects. Because why? The owner probably limit you from specifying the correct method or the correct material. For example, you specify the correct type of waterproofing with correct methodology, but the client say, no, I want to reduce this, you just specify this. So you follow that instruction from the client will take responsibility as the designer in this case. But you have to record it properly. If you see the format that has been implemented in UK, there's a standard format where client asks you to do changes of material, change of specification, then the client need to give instruction properly and sign off. That will become your protection in case of defects. So in my office, we have established the standard form for deviation of material and specification and methodology for construction. Every time clients say, I don't want this, I want that, okay, we will write for you, but please sign at the bottom. We need to keep that so that if anything happens, so the client is also there. The owner is also there. It's not just architect, consultant, or even during the construction defect. So the construction defect, okay, caused by the contractor, subcontractor, trades contractor, and the last one is methodology. Sometimes the contractor is capable, subcontractor is capable, but if the methodology instructed by the client is not correct, then it fails. Just like the waterproofing. The methodology say that it has to cure and set before you put the waterproofing and the adhesive. But if the client says, I want it to be done in 2 days, in 3 days, there is deviation of the standard or recommended manufacturer instruction for the methodology. So we can record that as well. Okay. Let's say the supplier specification to say that you need it to cure and set for 20 days. But the client says, I cannot wait 20 days, I want it in 3 days. Okay, this is your instruction, please sign. So you can do your standard format, but if you want to download, you can see in UK they are practicing that. So this is where actually we have to cover our interests. We know that, okay? We know that it's not good, but client insists, then let the client take responsibility. Okay? And manufacturers, suppliers, or material quality, that one is material defect. Sometimes it happens, okay? But of course, in terms of stage occurrence, okay, for design defect, it may occur during the design process, pre-construction, or during construction. Okay, but for construction defect, usually happen during the construction or during work execution. But for material defect, okay, stage of occurrence during manufacturing, supply, installation, and post-construction. If the material defect is during manufacturing, it's easy. You can see it from beginning. Material defect during the installation, also you can see it. But the difficult one is that it happened post-construction. During construction, you didn't notice it. After the building operation, after a few months, 2 months or 3 months, the hinges fail. The doorknob fail because of the mechanism inside is substandard. Or waterproofing fail because of material defect. So the material defect is very difficult to notice after the completion. It takes some time before you can see it. Okay, so main cause for design defect: poor planning, incorrect calculation, design error, inappropriate material selection. For construction defect: poor workmanship, incorrect installation method, coordination failures, and material defects: wrong or poor quality material provided. And the responsibility again for design defects is not just designers, architect, engineer, or other consultant, but owner in this case will also be responsible for that. Okay, construction defect, okay, contractors, subcontractor, trade contractors, and material defect, suppliers, manufacturer, contractors. This one is very important about visibility. Okay, visibility of design defect may be discovered during construction, but sometimes remain hidden until building operation. For example, if the specifier or the architect specified wrong type of adhesive or waterproofing, you may not know at that time, but after a few months, and then you start to notice that water seepages or debonding of adhesive. So it will take time, okay? And for construction defect, oftenly physically visible. Okay, during construction, the clerk of work can inspect and it is visible. But some remain hidden until building operation. Especially, for example, like substrate preparation. Okay, the failure of waterproofing or adhesive not always due to the failure of material, but maybe the preparation of the substrate. But again, this one also will only occur after several months, or sometimes can be years. So material defect, performance or durability failure usually discovered after months of operation. Okay, so this is where it defines what is latent defect and patent defects. The one that I underline, okay, is the latent defect. For example, it remains hidden until building operation. So during the handing over, vacuum possession, or even after the end of defect liability period, it does not appear. And it only appears or occurs after that period. So it becomes latent defect. So similarly for construction defect also, some remain hidden until building operation, and material defect discovered after months of operation. So for material defects, in my opinion, material defect is more straightforward. If it performs all the way up to the end of defect liability period, then the material is good enough. Okay, unless if there is additional warranty or guarantee to say that the paint system, I give you 5 years warranty. A waterproofing system, I give you 10 years warranty. So that is the extension of the standard performance of the material. But under the norm, if it still continues to perform until the defect liability period, then it's very difficult, okay, to say that your door knob failed, the material is substandard. Because it doesn't happen during the defect liability period. And then the manufacturer or supplier can contest to say that there is wear and tear. So that is why the line is blurring between the material defect and the wear and tear. So to be safe, that after the defect liability period, so if nothing happened, then the material deemed as good. Okay. Okay, so that's all what I want to share today. So if there is any question, okay, I'm ready to take a question, whatever I can answer. Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Architect Ezumi. Maybe we could open the QR for Slido. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask for the microphones. Okay, I just have one question before we start the Q&A. I want to wait for the question. You have one? Okay, all right, please. Your question is more important than mine.
Assalamualaikum, Datuk. Thank you for the insightful education today. My question would be regarding the defects. Like you said, there's a blurry line between material defects and wear and tear. So I think when we're doing housing projects, you know, after completion, if you have 500 units, you're gonna have 500 clients for some reason, right? And then there's the line between everybody will renovate their house, most of them, okay? And I do get this question from my clients, you know, where do they stop? When they renovate something, we have 4 walls, they touch 1 wall, and then what would happen to the other 3 walls? I mean, is it still covered under the DLP? Because we know that the unwritten rules that once you touch that wall, you know, that's your responsibility because you touch it. But if the defect happens to the other 3 walls due to that 1 wall, you know, that's where the argument starts, you know. So Dato', I mean, if you can advise based on your experience and how do you deal with this matter? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Very good This is a very good question. Okay, renovation after completion, after handing over. The topic is about that. The buck stops with the architect, but not the original architect. Now become the new architects. Because after you hand over the vacant possession, whatever renovation that they want to do, they need to engage an architect. It may not be the original architect who issued the CCC. It can be the new architect or new registered building draft person. Okay, so when the new PSP submitted the renovation plan, okay, you remember the declaration in Form A, I take full responsibility. So it becomes the responsibility of the new person who submit the plan for the renovation. And who is the client for this PSP? No longer the developer. The client is the owner. Because the owner engaged this PSP, the owner signed also in application form. So this is where I always say that once you renovated, okay, the original architect or the original developer will no longer be responsible for the work. Because the renovation, when you renovate, the new architect will take over. But of course it depends on, I'm talking about the small project. But it depends on the size of project. If you have big project, you have 2 blocks, high rise, renovated 1 block, the original architect stay responsible for the original block. But for today's discussion, it's a small project like terrace houses or bungalow. Because it's very difficult to separate the line between the responsibility of the original architect for the kitchen and the new architect for the porch. It's difficult. So that's why when they submit the application, the architect will take the responsibility. In my opinion, the new architect who do the renovation has to take the responsibility for the entire house because it's just one single building. And you cannot say that this guy is responsible for the porch and this one responsible for the kitchen. It's very difficult to manage in terms of safety and health as well. So that's why my advice also that for architect to take renovation work, you have to be careful to make sure that the existing condition of building is also good and is safe to be renovated. If not, then you have to advise your client that you, instead of doing only the porch, you have to also strengthen or do the renovation for other parts, which is not safe at that particular time. So that only you can certify that the building is safe for occupation. Because in your CCC, you certify the building is safe for occupation, not the car porch only safe. So in my view, we have to look at in the context of building, for especially was for single dwelling houses. Am I answering your question? Okay. What was the second one?
What if the owner they didn't use any PSP for their renovation? Usually panggil contractor je kan buat.
Okay. Yeah, okay. A small renovation without. So that's why I mentioned earlier even when DBKL say that minor renovation does not need the permit approval, does not need the plan approval. So this is where I say that it's very dangerous because how are you going to shift the liability to the new submitting person? You can't because there is no new submitting person. But we go back to CDM. This is where the owner, the project owner or the building owner take the responsibility. If anything happen, or even if waterproofing failure after the renovation, then it becomes their own responsibility. Okay. So this is where actually you can use that regulation to say that the owner is responsible to make sure adequacy of resources, time, and also fund. Okay.
All right, thank you. We have questions and ask about how we can get a copy of the CWDM guidelines, and then how we implement that in our skill fees.
Okay, the first part you can download from the internet. It is available. The guideline is 2017. It's already superseded with the regulation 2024. So both are available from DOSH website. You can download. In scale of fees, so far, LAM do not put any specific scale of fee for that. Okay, so what different architect may practice differently. For what I practice is that I will estimate or compute the time spent that I need to do in preparing, because what you need to do for as a PCWD is that you must have the DRA, Design Risk Assessment Report. So Design Risk Assessment Report must be prepared from the moment you start the concept design, the schematic design, until the construction. So during the schematic design, design development, plan approval, tender stage, you have to document, okay, all the risks in terms of safety and health during the process. For example, let's say maintenance access, okay, you do not provide maintenance access to the very slopy roof, for example, then you have to document that why you design like that, because the client insists, or you just like the design and then you take the liability. So you have to document it properly, so that when come to tender, under the regulation, when contractor is tendering for the project, the DRA, Design Risk Assessment Report, must come together in tender document, so that the contractor can price the construction cost properly. They know what is the risk, okay, what are the difficulty in terms of the construction. For example, if you are building 2-story terrace houses and you are building 100-story building, there's totally different risk. And if you already highlight the risk, okay, working at height and what are the equipment required, okay, safety gear required, then the contractor can price properly. So this is why the DRA is important. It has to be included in the tender, so that, because after the award of the tender to contractor, once the construction start at site, you have to transfer the report, the DRA Design Risk Assessment Report. The report must be transferred to the contractor, because you are no longer become the main person responsible for that. The PCWD become PCWC, Principal Construction Work Contractor. When the work commences on site, the contractor will take the report and will continue with their assessment, record and report during the progress of the construction. So for example, let's say the contractor take the file, analyze, there is risk in the construction method, the contractor has to record that, and the contractor may propose, okay, better alternative or to mitigate the risk. So if the contractor propose, but the client insists or you insist, then you will take that responsibility, because the contractor already proposed to mitigate the risk. So that's why this report is very important. So my fee is based on my time to check the design at every stage. It is not difficult if you already have the standard form. You can get your senior architect or just to check this part, tick, 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 standard form, you just tick. Okay, and the risk matrix, what I'm using now, okay, the risk matrix actually I adopt from the UK system. And I believe in Malaysia, they haven't got the standard format yet at the moment. Okay, but I think it is safe if we use the UK-based risk matrix, which is high risk, and then the probability of occurrence. I didn't have in my slide today. Okay, but it's safe to do that. So the fee is based on the time spent to do the checking, the analysis, and the preparation of the report until the contractor take over during the construction. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's really important to do that. But then, for small projects like this renovation, for example, just an extension of kitchen, this is quite an hassle works.
Okay, there's some exemption. I can't remember exactly. I think if the work is less than 500 man hours or something like that, then it's not required. It's not mandatory. Or 30 days maximum or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was in the slide just now, if you see. There's some exclusion for that. Okay, but yeah, if you do small renovation, you complete it within 1 week, 3 days, then it's not required. But if you take 1 year to complete, that's where the issue comes. Okay, so first the size of the project, second the time frame to complete the project. For smaller project, then there is exclusion. You don't need to do that.
Okay, understand. Since this CWDM, a lot of people are not sure how to implement, especially on this, having the checklist. Should we have a seminar on that?
Okay, today actually I am not. I don't want to talk about CDM. Okay, but of course, when I was still the president, we had one session, the engagement session. The late Tan Sri Jamilus was here as well, because he was the one who championed this CDM, and Dosh was here in this hall. So I think that was, do you remember, David? 2017 or 20, I think that was before COVID.
Before COVID.
Maybe 2019, because the guideline was launched 2017, 2019. Of course, a lot of objection from our members say that this is additional bureaucracy to us, additional work for us. There's no additional fee. The part no additional fee, I don't agree it's because if you want to do for free, it's up to you but you are entitled for it. Let me already say that you are entitled to charge, except that the charge scale was not stated. Okay.
Understand. Okay. There's one question related to renovation works that need to submit Borang G. If it's the work include structure and M&E work as well, or it's just enough of Borang F. I think he was looking at renovation in total.
All CCC must come with Borang G. Okay.
Yes.
Regardless big or small, but if it is not applicable, you just cross the top part, sign at the bottom, it is not applicable. But all CCC, I mean that all Borang F must come together with Borang G. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then I think we have another one question, or similar, related to the fee for PWC. It's difficult to
PCWD.
PCWD.
PCWC is contractor. There's no fee for that because they already priced in the tender. That's why the DRA must be included in the tender, so that they have already priced for it. But if it is not included, then they may come back. Okay, this is difficult to construct, high risk, you need more equipment. Then they may ask for variation, for VO. They may or may not get, but they can try because you do not put the DRA in the tender. Okay, but for PCWD, the designer, architects and engineer, at the moment there's no specific scale for that. But if you go under LAM scale of fee, there are time costs that you can charge, under the supplementary services. There are also scale for supplementary services under the LAM scale of fee.
All right, thank you very much. Any question from the floor? Yes, please.
Which one first?
Nick.
Two. Ladies first.
Hello. I'd like to ask about there's a table that you showed in the slide before. So there's where the liability lies with the architect and then contractor. So defects like materials. I think the next one after.
Before that.
Before. Yeah, this one. So if you see in the middle column construction defects, right? So that's where, does that mean that the liability lies with the contractor and the subcon? Yeah. So sometimes when there's something wrong with the materials or the performance of materials, the client will find the contractor, say, oh contractor, you're not doing a great job at this. Why are you not following the standard ke, cert ke, apa ke. And then the contractor will say, you client didn't request it from us, didn't specify this sort of certificate. And then the client will go to architect, why didn't you advise us? You know the scope is, inside this building. Why didn't you inform us? We don't know. We hope you to advise us awal-awal. Does that happen, and how do we go about that?
Very interesting question. Okay, it's not easy for me to answer, but what we learned today from the technical talk earlier today, that talk actually enhanced our knowledge so that we know how the performance of different types of adhesive, for example, in this case, adhesive. So that's why we need CPD. We need to enhance and improve our knowledge. So this is where actually when client come to us, we can explain to them. For example, the case that you highlighted just now, that the construction defect in relation to the material defect. So this is where actually we can explain to the client that if the methodology of the construction is correct, the contractor has followed all the methodology, follow the manufacturer instruction, but it still fail, then it's proven that the failure because deficiency in the material. This is where we can explain to the client that the client can go to the manufacturer to claim for warranty. Okay, but if from the beginning that we already know that that is not suitable for that condition, but the client insisted, the manufacturer will come back to you, say that, of course, it is failed because you choose the wrong material at the different places or at the wrong condition of the construction site. So, but if we do not have that knowledge, this is where actually we can be caught by the client to say that you have specified wrong material, or the contractor has used deceitful material or method. But if we know, we can explain not the problem with the method, not the problem with the contractor, but the material may be not suitable, or the method itself is defective. Okay. Am I answering your question? Okay. So most important is that we have to explain, and okay, sometimes we have to shift the buck as well, not always stop at the architect.
It's important to understand the root
so
cause.
If you understand, this is where that you can explain to the client to say that we have done everything right, correct. We have done according to the manufacturer instruction specification. So this is where you have to go back to the manufacturer. Okay, if they say that the material can perform like this as per the data sheet, the technical data sheet, but it failed, then the material is failed. So, but of course, to do that, we need to have the record to support that. Okay.
Okay. We have another question behind.
We have Sifu asking questions.
Sifu ask.
Sorry. Perhaps you want to write down. I may have several questions.
Don't ask a long question. Very old already. I will answer the last one only.
One is about the UBL. The UBL is actually not UBL because of our land law, where the states got their own say and local authorities have got their own say. Local authorities can change. You have seen it, we have seen it in the Highland Towers, where the court says the local authorities are not responsible and therefore the designers will become liable. And then Mahadi comes up in 2022 and making that statement that you can do renovations, you don't need any submissions or whatever. But neither PAM or nobody took the case up against him to say that who is going to be liable. When the earlier case, the local authorities were not liable. That's one about UBL. Perhaps you want to say something. The other thing is about...
Can I respond first before I forgot?
Historical questioning.
Okay, the Highland Tower case is, of course, it's a landmark case, very interesting. At first, I think the decision was that the authority, MPHA, also responsible for that, but after the appeal, I think it was dismissed. So it was jointly liable, the designer, who actually is not the architect, it's building draftsman, engineer, and the developer and contractor. So they share the liability for the Highland Tower case. But referring to the statement by the past DBK mayor that they give exemption to the minor renovation, they have right to do so. They have right to give exemption. So they say that, okay, small renovation, okay, I use my power, this is exempted, you can do renovation, but you do renovation, you take the responsibility for that, okay, as the owner. So this is where we have to educate the owner, whether you want to take the risk on yourself or you want the consultant or the engineer to do it for you, so that the professional can do a proper calculation to make sure that it is safe. Although that the authorities say that you don't have to submit, but it does not mean that the owner, the project owner, is dismissed from the responsibility. They still take the liability and responsibility as the building owner.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Next question.
The PAM and Lembaga all along, have they ever done any negligence cases against architects? And where they saw any negligence, if they were criminal, did they carry on serving that case or did they report that criminal cases? I think you've been on Lembaga as well.
I am not on Lembaga today, and also not on PAM today. Okay, from memory, I do not remember PAM take any action on that. But Lembaga, yes. For negligence, yes. There are cases that the respondent, the architect or building draftsman, has been reprimanded, has been fined. If I'm not mistaken, there's one draft person, or maybe one or more, has been suspended for that reason. Yeah.
But we haven't had anyone in jail, right?
From memory, not yet at this moment. Who want to be the first one?
I'm scared. Because yeah. Any other question?
There's one problem with the borangs A and B. The statement says you will take reasonable care. Now, it's not complete care, reasonable care, which means in the eyes of your peers. So when a case comes up, who determines there whether the care has been taken reasonably? Has such instances occurred?
Yes, okay. Under the architect's regulation, okay, under the condition code of conduct, under code of conduct, yes, there is a reasonable care and care. That is our responsibility. But in the declaration form to authority, we take full responsibility. Full responsibility. So, but of course, if anything that come to dispute, there's always because the decision maker, let's say if the court, they may not be the judge may not be the technical person, so it depends on the expert witnesses. So the plaintiff will have the expert witness, and then the defender also have the expert witness. By right, okay, both expert witness should have a single or opinion that can assist the judge to make decision. But sometimes the two witnesses also can have a very contradict opinion. So then what you do? Sometimes court will appoint another court expert witness, or it has to refer to what is the norm of the practice at that time. But it is not an easy task today for the court to make decision, because there are so many
Experts.
so many experts, so many experts in the inverted comma.
Yeah. All right.
Just a little correction on the defects list. When you presented on the sheet, you talked about latent defect.
Yes.
It's just a clarification on my part. It is actually patent defects that take very long to appear, not latent defects. So perhaps you'll take note of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we have one last question from the Slido. I'm not sure the direction of this question. It says, during the LP, can contractor repaint only the defective patchy areas of a high-rise facade, or must he repaint the entire facade to avoid a mismatched appearance?
Why I'm getting all the tough questions today?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So usually, when we design the facade, we should plan. Okay. To have separation by panels or separation materials. One of the reasons, if any defects, even if any crack, is easier for us to repair. But of course, okay, if you have one piece continuously, then it will be very patchy if you only paint that particular defective area. So this is where the contractor has to be very, very smart to make sure that the tone of the new paint and the existing to be similar, which is very difficult. Very difficult to get that. Very difficult. Yeah. So in other words, you have to paint the entire panel. Okay, at least there's a boundary, different groove line or whatever, so that it doesn't look patchy. Yeah. But it is not impossible. It is possible to get very close to the, the tone to the existing one. Okay.
But I think kind of a lot of reasons, like for example, even the time of painting also would affect, even though you have everything similar, and then the days also affected.
Yeah. So because the pigment, the color pigment change after exposed to weather, under the sun, sun ray. So if you use, let's say, coat 1, 2, 3 for the original paint, so after 1 year later, you repair the defect, you cannot use the same coat 1, 2, 3. Okay, it will not match. Okay, because of the change in tonality of the existing paint. But okay, some experienced contractor, okay, they can take a patch, go to the paint shop to match as close as possible. So they will scan and try to match the paint. So it will not be 1, 2, 3 anymore. There will be something maybe 1, 2, 6 or whatever. But in terms of the appearance, looks almost similar. It may not be 100%. Okay.
Okay. I hope that answered the question. Anything from the floor? Yes.
Hello, good morning. I just want to ask more about the CDM. If, like, let's say the design assessment report, you recommend to put it with a tender, would it be better for the contractor to submit their PCWC report during the tender for us to evaluate, rather than we commenting on how they want to do the working on height and all the other construction requirements?
Now, PCWC report, DRA from PCWC part does not exist yet during the tender stage. Because it's the same report. They call it DRA file. So that you top up during your design stage, you will, whenever the design evolves, then you add on to it. When it comes to tender, you give all the information in the tender. During the site possession, you hand over the file to the contractor. Then the contractor, as PCWC, will start to add add on all the information, the record during the construction, all the changes or the methodology changes in that. So that's why during the tender stage, the contractor will not have yet the information on PCWC.
Okay.
So basically it's only one file, but it moves. Okay, this one the architect can shift the bucket to contractor. Okay, from after the tender award, then handover. In the regulation, it stated that we have to hand over. The PCWC need to hand over the file to the PCWC, which is the main contractor.
Yep. Okay. All right. Hopefully, I answer your questions. Any more?
One quick last one. Do you really want the buck to stop at the architect?
No. Short answer, no.
Then we have to do something about it, because it started off in the 80s when Bomba and all that the committees got together and they said we want to hold only one person responsible. I remember Socha Hawk, and that's how the architects became liable in everything.
Yeah, I think the good thing is that the amendment to the Limitation Act, I think with the inclusion of Section 6A now, previously we say the architect is responsible for life, but now there are two schools of thought. Okay, one school of thought which is Board of Engineers also adopt this, and 2 days ago the PAM legal counsel, legal advisor also says that it is the absolute 15 years from the vacant possession. Okay, that is the limitation. So after that, if anything happened after that, it's no longer the responsibility of the architect. It's the responsibility of the owner to maintain the buildings. So any failure, because if the design survive for 15 years and fail later, it shouldn't be design anymore. There should be a maintenance by the building owner. Okay, but the second school of thought, okay, the same act, but I refer to 2 different lawyers who give different understanding of this. The other one say, because the act say that the accrued of the defects or the accrued of the 15 years started from the date the accrued of the defects. So another school of thought say that it started 15 years after the accrue of the defect. So I'm not a legal expert here, so I do not know which one to follow, but my preference that I will prefer the absolute 15 years. So anything after that, I don't want to take the responsibility. Let the owner take responsibility to maintain their own building.
I don't think you can, because when you talk about defects, a patent defect and a structural defect, you can't run away. You simply cannot run away. So the buck have to stop at the architect's door or the designer's door, the engineer's door.
Okay, so I agree with you. So if anybody here got chance to look at the Limitation Act section, the new section 6A, and also the original section 6, I don't remember if there is any case at court. David, do you know any case at court at the moment on 6A? Not yet. That's why there are 2 different school of thought on this. But it is good if we can have one case for that.
I think it's only fair that I, as an arbitrator, okay, because things come to us also, I have found that the buck got to stop at the architect. A lot of cases are lost and the problems are caused by the architects themselves. And I have held architects liable for that. And it has been upheld by the courts. So I think we got to be careful. The buck, yes, indeed, got to stop at the architect, and the architect's got to be more careful.
So in short, so that it is not 15 years, but it's 50 years, because you probably pass away after that.
Okay, all right. I think we have to stop now. We already
Thank you,
exceeded 20 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.